Hey everybody, welcome to the next step on your journey to the better life. Guys, I want to congratulate you that you have finished the first chapter of the program, which is strengthening your mind and your psychology. I know it was not easy. I know it was a lot of different practical methods we have learned. I know you have developed a lot of different templates with a lot of different information and actionable items. And as a result of all of that, you might feel a little bit overwhelmed because you have too big of a list of actionable items which you actually have to start working on. And you're probably a little bit confused, like, what should I start working on first? Well, I have two good news for you guys today. The first good news is that we're gonna have the steps which will actually explain you of how to put all those actionable items in structured manner. We're going to be learning how to create the roadmap for our lifestyle. And that's where all those actionable items which you have already come up with will play the role. So this is the first good news. The second good news is that you have already the opportunity to start working on them. And how would you select the most important ones? Well, I would suggest to take a look on your list and choose the three most important things you think will bring most results. You know, as they say, 20% of the things what you do bring you 80% of the results. So I don't want you to wait till the steps when I'm going to explain you that, but I want you right now to take the fortune and your destiny in your hands and actually start to figuring out what those three most important things are. I'm going to give you a hint how to actually do that. Well, go through all the actionable items in your list. Now choose one of them and try to imagine what kind of results would you get out of it. Why it is important to you to get those results. And how would you feel if the results would be already here, now? If you're gonna push you through this kind of experience of experiencing them at the moment as a result already, you might get this feeling and sensation of how do you feel and what kind of emotion it rises within your body. So those three most important ones will be the ones which will trigger the highest intensity of your emotions when you think of the result, when you think of the outcomes which you might achieve in order if you're going to start performing and doing those actionable items which you have on your list. This is my really quick hint and help to you of how you can actually start already working on your actionable items right now. Don't wait until up the next steps. Choose those three most important ones by feeling and thinking of what kind of the most best and most efficient outcome they can bring you. Choose those three ones and just start working on them. Implement them into your schedule and start doing things and performing those actions which are required for those things to come true. Okay? All right. Back to today's step. With this step, guys, we're starting this new chapter of ours, which is the second step of the unlimited freedom to make any change in your life. The first one, as you remember, was the mind and psychology, and now the second one is strategies, plans, skills, and all the other elements which you need to have in order to build your lifestyle, right? And that's what this step is all about. I'm going to put the next foundation. I'm going to provide you the next foundation which you have to have in order to be able to fulfill on all those strategies and plans which we are about to learn in upcoming steps. So we kind of need to set the ground here, guys, and prepare you to be able to execute upon those strategies which you are about to learn in upcoming steps. Sounds good? All right. So that's why I call this step 2 factors to ultimate success and how to become the learning machine. How does that sound, guys? Today we will actually learn the core factors. There are a lot of factors out there which will determine your success, but there are 2 core factors which play the crucial role, the resulting role of your success. And it's not only coming from me, but all from those mentors, the books, the seminars I have visited and I learned. From the guys like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Tai Lopez, Grant Cardone, and all other different mentors I have the privilege to learn from, right? So we're going to be learning those two factors. We're going to be learning how to actually fulfill on them and guarantee our success. And then we're going to learn how to become the learning machine, because this is the part of the process which you have to go through to fulfill on these two factors. Okay? All right, let's get to the factors themselves. I actually borrowed the name for those factors from others. One of the names I have borrowed from my mentor, and the other one I have borrowed from one of the books I will mention about further on in this step. So the first factor is worth a damn factor. Yep, you did not overheard me. Worth a damn factor. And the second one is deserve it factor. I will repeat, deserve it factor. Today, we're going to be working on growing and increasing your worth a damn and deserve it factors. What those factors actually mean. Let's dive deep into the details of those factors, see what they consist of, why do they so important, and what can we do to grow them and increase them and fulfill upon them. So let's take the first one, which is worth a damn. What do I mean by that? Well, worth a damn, it actually means what kind of value do you create for yourself and for others and the world and everything which surrounds you. Got it? Guys, the life is about creating the value. How about that? And I'm going to prove you and I'm going to explain you with examples of what I actually mean by that. Just think about it. Let's take some of the examples. Let's take your work, the job, or the business which you have. What is it all about? Well, it's all about adding value. I think we are mistaken when we were trying to find the job which would pay us most. Or we are mistaken when we are trying to get the raise and we think we deserve the raise just because we have these thoughts in our head. I think it's all correlated with the value we're actually adding. And as a matter of fact, I don't think I know that because I have learned it from my mentors and I have used it throughout my life. Adding value is the key. Just think about it. If someone hires you, if the company hires you, what do they want from you? And the most often answer I hear is just, well, they want me to, get my job done. And this is not that exactly right, because they actually hire you because they think you can bring additional value to the table, which the company will benefit of. And based on what kind of value they determine you have, they actually figured out your salary, your position in the company, the long-term collaboration with you, and all other things. They all base it on the fact how much of the value can you bring to that company. How great is that? How great is to know that now, if you have not heard or thought about it before. So now you know that your salary actually directly proportional to added value which you bring to the company. You now also know that whatever position you have in a company, it's directly correlated with added value which you bring to the company. So the only thing you need to do is to figure it out how you can increase this added value. And therefore you will be increasing your salary as well as you're going to be stepping up in the position and growing within this company. As simple as that. And how can you add value to the company or to your business? Well, one really, I will share you a couple of things and we're going to go on. One really quick and easy one, do more when you're being paid for. Very easy. Just do more than you're being paid for. That's it. That's how you're going to increase automatically your value in eyes of others. And if others will someday decide whom to give the promotion to, or whom to give the raise, trust me, they're gonna choose you, or they most probably will choose you, just because you have added more value to them and the company they're working in by doing more than you're being paid for. Another way how to increase your value in the company, in the business, in the workplace you're working in is just by acquiring a little bit different skills, or maybe adding up on the skills which you already have. Let's say you're the marketing person, or maybe you're a salesperson, or maybe you are developer, meaning you're programming the code, or maybe you are the product developer. Any position you take, just think of the things, what kind of skills can you add up to your position in order maybe to take up on more responsibilities in your company. And with those more responsibilities, you will be able to bring more value, do more for the company. And what the company values most? Well, their employees, and they're going to value, if they're going to value a lot, they're not going to let you go, they're going to collaborate with you long term. The second one, their customers, so they are existing just to bring value to the customer, and whoever brings more value wins. So if you're going to help them to bring more value for the customer, you're going to increase your value as well. And last one, but not least, well, they want to earn money, right? If you're going to figure out the ways of how to help them to earn more money, if that way you're going to increase your value. They're going to pay attention to you. They're going to count you in with all the benefits and features and goodies which they are about to create or give out within the company. That's how value is important. That's how worth a damn is important. And if they're going to talk about you and decide about you, I wish they're going to say about you, hey, this girl or that guy, they're worth a damn. We gotta take care of them. That's how important added value is in your business or in your working place. If you run the business, well, you bring in value to your customer. So you gotta figure it out how much value and what kind of value can you bring. The more value you will be able to bring, the better customers you're gonna get. And not only customers, but fans. Because difference between customers and fans is as follows. Customers can make a couple of purchases and leave. The fans will stay with you for long term, almost forever, and will buy from you a lot. So you're gonna create fans. And how do you create fans? Well, by providing value, more value than your competitors do and provide. Right? Makes sense? Okay, let's take another area of our life. Relationships. How can you bring the better value in relationships, and how can you actually say that relationships is all about adding value? Well, try to remember the first days, first couple of weeks you had with your partner when you just started to date each other. What happened back then? Well, you know what happened? You started to get the new set of feelings and emotions because of that relationships and connection which you started to create with your partner. Did it happen that way? I know, and I hope it did. And what happened with you back then? Well, your life value, your quality of life has increased. You had this before, and now you have this new set of feelings and emotions which your new partner brings to you. And that increases value of that relationships and the value of your life. You start to value life better on this level here, and you don't want to drop it down anymore. That's why we're so afraid to lose the connection, to lose the partnership, to lose the relationships, because what they did, they added value into our life. How can you add a value in your relationships? Well, you might start to prioritize your relationships. You might start to pay attention to your partner. You might start to put yourself first before, to put yourself second before your partner, and think about your partner and care about your partner and do things for your partner first, and give, and do not wait to receive. That's how you might increase value of your relationships towards your partner. Your partner will feel it, will know it, and eventually your partner will do the same. And that's how you're gonna heat yourself up, and that's how you're gonna develop, and that's how you're going to make your relationships better. So relationships is also all about value and adding value to each other. So you got to be worth a damn to have the good relationships. You're going to be worth a damn to have the sustainable and long-term relationships with someone. You're going to be worth the damn to get this attention. And how you do that? by practicing that, right? Another area of your life where value is very important, your health. What happens with your life when you start working out? Then you start actually taking care of your health, and you started to feel better. You're starting to have better energy. You can do more. Does that affect the value what you bring into your life? Does that affect the quality of your life? Of course, by bringing more value to yourself, by developing yourself and taking care of your health, you are able to do more for others and for yourself as well, and therefore you increase the value around yourself. And that's how you attract attention as well. That's how powerful worth a damn factor is. It can literally ruin the quality of your life, and at the same time it can lift it up, and you can get most everything which you want out of life, but if you're worth a damn. How does that sound? I hope it sounds good. We're gonna figure it out on how to grow and increase this factor. Before they do that though, let's get to another factor, the second one, as I said, which have you put the note for yourself, by the way? All right, deserve it factor. Write it down. The first one was worth the damn factor, which means how much value you create for yourself and others and the environment around you. The second one is deserve it factor. What that actually means? Well, that means that you have to get out of life what you want, you have to deserve it. As Charlie Munger says in his book, Poor Charlie Almanac, and that's the book I have borrowed that factor from, Deserve It. Charlie Munger says, the world is not yet crazy place enough to reward a whole bunch of undeserving people. Just think about it. We feel in the world which is made up of the rules, and those rules exist for us to know them and follow them. And I'm not saying about the entire system of all the rules we might not be agree with. I am telling about the rules we all know but sometimes don't follow. And I will explain you what I mean. Before that, I want to say deserve it. That means do something about it. Work for it. You have to deserve it first before having it. You know what I'm saying? Before you becoming a millionaire, you deserve to become the millionaire. How do you do that? Well, you probably do something. You take some kind of action to actually get to the million. You also change yourself. Remember, we talked about it. To become a millionaire, you have to actually become someone which is able to deserve this million. So by becoming someone, you actually starting to deserve because you worked on yourself, right? We're all human beings. We have to be, not only do. That's why we have to become someone. We're not only human doings, we are also human beings, right? So that's where we have to become someone to deserve it. And we also have to do things to deserve it. This is another translation of that same thing which I already talked about when we talked about the identity, right? We have to change your identity. We have to improve it and expand it in order to become someone to start deserving things. And I'll give you a lot of examples which you will understand, and you will understand how important the deserving factor is, and you will understand how important it is to play by the rules. I'll give you an example from the food and fitness perspective. Let's say there is one person who eats anything they want, and most of the time they eat out of McDonald's or the processed food and things like that, and they stay super fit. They do not exercise nothing, and they stay super fit and slim, and they are super healthy. On the other hand, it's you who is working out every single day 7 times a week, and you are getting even more fat because of it. You try to keep up with the diet and you're getting even more fat. Would it be fair to live in a world like that? I don't think so. That's why we have the rules. We know the rule, how to actually lose the weight, right? We know the rules. We have to exercise, we have to eat healthy, we have to sleep, we have to do, other things just to keep up with our health. So we know the rules. The question is, do we follow the rules? Because if we do follow the rules, we becoming that deserving person who can actually start deserving the thing. Because to deserve to lose 100 pounds, you actually have to deserve to lose 1 pound first, and then the second pound first, and then the 50th pound first. And then step by step you go ahead, not necessarily in a fast spurts, as again Charlie Munger says. And then you deserve to lose 100 pounds at some point. But you did something for it. You started to work out, you started to exercise, you started to build your diet. You did something for it. You truly deserve it. Because remember, the world is not the place yet to deserve the whole bunch of undeserving people, and I agree with that. Now let's make some of the examples of how you can use this deserve it factor in different areas of your life. I already mentioned your health, right? You gotta work on your health, you gotta work on your body, and then as a result, you're gonna deserve that body, you're gonna deserve that energy, you're gonna deserve that feeling. That was one example. Again, example from your working place or from your business. How do you deserve your clients? Again, you provide them value. You provide the attention. You work on a system. You build the business. You optimize your finance and things like that. And that's how you deserve for your business to be successful. The same at work. You work on your skills. You take up more responsibilities. You do more than you're getting paid for, and that as a result, you start deserving all those things which you wait, maybe from the management, whether it's raise, whether it's new position or something else, transfer to another department and things like that. You gotta deserve. Another one, in relationships. To have good, stable, long-term relationships, you have to deserve to be them that way. You have to work on them. You have to pay attention to your partner. You maybe have to acquire some communication skills in order to be able to communicate with your partner in the way you find the compromises all the time and you not have too many arguments with each other. A lot of different things you can do in order to deserve to have the greatest relationships in your life. That's how this deserving factor is important. And by the way, as you see through the examples, they all correlate with each other, right? We have deserving factor, which we can increase. But with increasing of deserving factor, we do something, right? And by doing something, what we do is we create the value, because we create something, we create the skill, which now can help us to deserve and at the same time create this added value for others. So these factors, they complement each other and they work together. Whatever you're working on, they complement the other factor. How great is that? Do you now feel it? Why do I call them two core factors to ultimate success? It's just because they increase or they determine our value and they determine how much we deserve. And the higher they are, the better we fulfill on them, the better off we are to succeed in implementing any strategies, any plans, and doing any things which we want to do in our life. All right? Now, we slowly but surely get into the other part of this step, where we now have to learn and figure it out how to increase these both factors and how to fulfill on them as much as we can, as in our best abilities. And let's start. There are only two ways, well, at least they are major ways I have learned from my mentors and the books what I have read. Those are two ways how you can actually rapidly grow and increase those two factors. And one way is by acquiring knowledge. And the second of them is by applying this knowledge and developing skills. Guys, only two things you gotta work on to increase the probability of your huge success and to satisfy those two factors of increasing the value and deserve it. You have to acquire the knowledge and you have to apply it to get the skills. That's all you need to do to fulfill on those two factors. And we're going to be talking right now about how to do that and how to actually acquire the knowledge, how to actually acquire the skills, what kind of skills and knowledge are most important and things like that. And by the way, stick with me. I know what your mind might say, but now you know that your mind working upon the beliefs which you have. And you might have this belief which says, well, I already heard of it. Yeah, I have to learn. Yeah, I have to have this knowledge. Yeah, I have to have the skills. Well, I have it all, but it didn't help me. Guys, I want to open up the new perspective of how do you actually look at the knowledge and how do you look at the skills and what kind of type of skills you have to develop in order to success. Because that's what makes all the difference. And maybe previously you did not use that knowledge properly, or maybe you did not acquire this knowledge properly, or maybe you acquired the wrong skills. There might be a lot of different components which are determined your success so far. So don't use that past experience and apply it for the future. Just, stick with me, roll with this video, with the things what I'm going to teach you about, and I will assure you, you will have the different perspective and change your belief. Replace your negative belief with your empowering belief about this topic, because it's crucial for your entire life. It's the second thing after your mind and psychology. This is foundation, guys, what I'm talking about today. So please pay attention. Let's start with the knowledge. So we figured out what we have to work on: acquiring the knowledge and the skills to fulfill on those two factors, which is value and which is deserving it. Right. What is the knowledge? Well, as I like to say and I like to quote, the knowledge is our modern currency. Just think about it. You can trade knowledge for most anything. You can trade knowledge for knowledge. You can trade knowledge for money. You can trade knowledge for significance. You can trade knowledge for most anything. You can trade knowledge for skills, right? Because if you have knowledge and you start to practice it, you get in the skills. So you can get a lot out of the world, out of life, out of others, and out of yourself by acquiring the knowledge. That's why the knowledge is currency. Because what is currency? Currency is the volume of exchange. Can you exchange your knowledge? Yes, I just made some of example how can you exchange the knowledge. First and foremost is you can exchange it for money. You can exchange it for skills. Those are probably most important ones which you can exchange the knowledge for, right? And you can use knowledge to actually increase those two factors which give you everything out of life. Remember that. So now, how do we acquire knowledge? Well, very easy, by learning. We learn, right? We learn to get knowledge. And I know you know that, but stick with me. I'm gonna unveil you some very cool stuff right now. So, okay, we are learning to acquire knowledge. Do we have same capacity to learn? Or do we have any differences in between ourselves, like human beings, in capacity to learn? I want to ask you that question. Well, the answer is, if you don't know the answer is no. We all have the same capacity. As soon as we are being born, we have absolutely the same capacity to learn things. The difference only is how do we use this capacity throughout the years, and whether we use it to learn or we lose it, because if you use it, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? And that capacity to learn is huge. And by the way, this is the reason why IQ, higher IQ, doesn't mean better results. That also proves that we all have same capacity, but we use it in a different way. Because what IQ means? IQ actually measures the capacity of your mind, of your brain. But it doesn't mean that it guarantees that you're going to use all that capacity to achieve what you want to achieve in your life. Therefore, one person might have the capacity to learn, measured in IQ, let's say, of 150, and another one has 110. If that person with 150 going to only use up 10% of his or her capacity, they're going to only get 15 points. But that person going to use 100% or 90% out of the 110. It's going to be enough for that person to outcompete the one with the higher IQ. Why? It's just because they use this capacity on the greater level. Why do I say that? Well, it's important because even if we know that and we have this huge, enormous capacity and equal capacity in between all of us, yet a lot of us learn and keep learning all the time, But majority of us and the whole world stop learning as soon as they finish their schools and universities. Why is that? Why don't we all use that capacity for the full? I have an answer for you. Because of our fears. Because of our beliefs. And I'll explain you that. Just remember yourself at school and university. You know what they do, and I think is the wrong thing to do, not right thing to do, is to punish you for your mistakes. And that's exactly what schools and university did. By putting the grades on you, they actually punished you for your mistakes. And God forbid if for your grades you get also physically punished at your home, which happened with me. And in this case, you remember my case from the childhood, when the mind is actually creating those beliefs, what it can happen with us, and it happens with majority of us because of the school, because of university, where they punish us for mistakes and give us lower grades, we hurt because we don't want to be punished. We don't want to be getting lower grades. We don't want to be punished at home, some of you anyway who did, because what? It hurts. Then someone points the finger and says, I have a lower grade than them. Who does that? Who points finger at me? It hurt me. I don't want to be in this position to be pointing finger on. So what I do, I try to escape. What do I try to escape? I try to escape learning. That's why we're all so happy to finish our school and university. We throw our hats and our papers up. We are so freaking exciting. And this is a shame, in my opinion, because the schools and universities have to teach us how to learn and have to tell us that learning is non-stop and a limited process. And then the learning only starts when you finish the school and university. Proper learning anyway, the learning with efficiency, the learning which will help you to fulfill on these two factors, be worth a damn and deserve it factor. How great and crazy at the same time it is. And therefore we are developing this fear of learning, because as soon as we're going to learn, and in perfect case scenario, if we're going to apply what we learn, we're obviously going to make mistakes because we just learn new thing, right? And by applying the new thing, we're going to kind of keep learning on our mistakes. But what our mind remembers about mistakes? Well, we're being punished. Mistakes is something bad. And mind wanted to protect you, want you to skip doing that, meaning you skip the learning, guys. But not you anymore anyway, because you have just learned how to work with your mind, how to create the identity you need to learn, because learning is achieving something which you want and increasing those two factors. Now you know that. Why do you need to change your identity? Because, by the way, your identity did not have this little puzzle of feeling of being and wanted to be in the process of learning. It doesn't include in your identity at the moment if you did not change it yet, because you create this identity without learning. For those who did learn, you have the skills, you have to improve it. For those who didn't, you forgot it. It's not a part of your identity anymore, and you have to bring it back. Another example, it's still based on your fears, why don't we learn, is that as soon as we start learning at school and universities, we go through life and we achieve something, we become someone. And we have this set of skills and things which forms our identity, right? And we feel ourselves important. Remember that need of significance. We feel ourselves important, and now we do not want to lower our status in society. But what learning does with us, it kind of brings us back to the ground zero, guys. And we know if we're gonna start learning now, we're gonna make mistakes and we're gonna go through the learning curve, which might hurt. And what others gonna say? Others might start judging us because maybe I'm already some kind of boss in a huge company. I'm CEO or something. Who else gonna say something about me if I'm gonna start learning things and go through the learning curve and make mistakes? What they're gonna think about me? And all those thoughts of starting small, we fear them. And that's how the fear paralyzes us, stops us, and makes us procrastinate and never learn the new thing anymore. And that is the recipe for disaster, because this is the recipe of how to lower, not increase, lower your worth the damn factor and deserve it factor. And with them being so low, it's almost not possible to achieve the things you want to achieve in life, to create things better, to make them better, and to get to that journey and get step by step to this better life for yourself. How crazy is that? Do you feel me? Do you understand the importance of knowledge? The importance of actually learning things? I hope you do. Now, if we all believe that learning is important, the only thing we need to do is to break through those fears, but you already know how to do that because you know how to replace your disempowering beliefs with empowering ones. You know how to take empowering action. You know how to expand on your identity. You know how to put yourself in the positive, emotional, strong, energized state in order to break through that. So you have to do just that with learning and finally start learning. We only need to start learning. That's it. And the day is today. When was the last time to plant the tree? 20 years ago. When is the next best time to plant the tree? Today. The same thing with learning. When was the last time to start, the best time to start learning? 20 years ago. When is the next best time to start learning? Guys, today. I want to assure you, it's today. Okay? So learning, it's very important and it's increase our knowledge. Now, what should we learn? Well, we should learn, in my opinion, according to opinion of all the mentors and book I have read and all those sources of information, I have pulled this information out. We gotta learn variety of subjects and topics. And by the way, when I'm talking about learning, I'm talking about the knowledge, overall knowledge which you have in your mind, the general knowledge which you have about variety of things. Don't relate it to skills yet. Skills is something different. Skills is something you actually practice based on your knowledge. You take the piece of your knowledge in some particular area and you start practicing it and repeat it. And with the repetition comes skill. And that's how you create the skill in very narrow kind of niche of the knowledge which you have. Okay? Now I'm talking about this part of knowledge, not the skills yet. So when we talk about knowledge, we have to have a knowledge in variety of different topics and subjects. Subjects like biology, subjects like history, subjects like social relationships, subjects like money, subjects like health, and so on. Why do we need that? Well, we need to understand and want to understand the biology just because to understand how our bodies work. We'll be able to help ourselves better and increase our health better just by knowing biology. The next thing, why do we need to know history? Well, the history is something which repeats itself. So by knowing history, we would be able to predict what's going to happen in the future. It's very important. Why do we need to know about money and learn money? Well, just because to finally get this financial freedom and have any choices in our life we want, right? It's very important, don't you think? All right, the next one is social relationships. Well, we have to build our relationships, right? We want to understand how to create the best relationships possible. And therefore, we need to learn that, right? Well, you might still think, well, what, I need to now become the professional in all the areas of my life? No, you don't. I'm talking about the acquiring the knowledge. That means if you want to read the book about different kind of things. If you want to practice something, practice different kind of things. Why do you need to do that? I will explain you with this metaphor. You see, there is such a thing in nature as they call it nature edge effect. What the nature edge effect means is that the life happening on the edge, where different environments meet each other. And I will give you an example with the forest. you probably have been in the forest before, and you know that there are some places in the forest where a lot of growing happening. There are some places where a lot of lights are in, but there are places where there are no lights and not a lot of growing happening. There are places where you can meet animals and the places where you never see them and things like that. But where the whole life is happening, where you can find the most mushrooms, if you're the mushroom hunter like me, you know where you can find the most mushrooms, you can find the most animals, and the better probability to meet all of it on the edge, where the forest ends and the field with the grass starts and it meets with the pond or the lake, and that's all creates this edge effect, as they call it, where the whole life is happening. All the animals meet with each other to eat that grass, to drink that water and things like that. So the most life in the forest still happens on the edge, where different environments meet each other. Now think about your mind and think about the knowledge what you have. Those different topic and subject which I have just suggested you to learn about and get your knowledge in, they are creating this edge effect in your mind, in your head. And that's how those different things and different topics and subject complement each other. I will give you an example. Let's say you're learning music, you're learning how to play the violin, or you're learning how to sing. What you learn is actually that by putting some sounds together, you can create the music. By putting some words together, you can create the song. And you're practicing it, and your mind's starting to learn that. Then all of a sudden, imagine at the same time you are running the business or you're opening up the business. And one of your responsibilities is to come up with the product, to draw the list of the features for that product and make it unique. And all of a sudden you do that with ease, and everyone else is so impressed, and your product is successful, and you're thinking yourself, damn, how did I do that? How did I put all these pieces together? Well, guess what? You probably did that because you practiced that same thing while you were learning music, while you were playing the violin, while you were understanding that by combining things together, you can get something beautiful. And it helped you to create the product with a different niche, different subject, business, and the music. You see how did they interact with each other and how they created this edge effect where the life is happening, where the most wonderful things are happening. So you gotta create this knowledge within yourself and make sure this knowledge creates this edge effect within you, and you're gonna be better off. You're gonna be able to see the different sides of one argument, and you're gonna be able to provide a better view on your argument. You will be able to communicate better with the people. You're going to be able to agree with someone a lot less painful and things like that. So many benefits out of the things which we learn about, guys. How do you like that? How do you think the learning and why learning is important and how you can actually learn? Do you like that? Do you like that? Do you use that capacity? Do you like to create this edge effect? I hope you do now. Maybe before you were looking at the knowledge and the process of learning differently, but now you know that you might not learn just because of the fear. And then you start learning, you got to create this edge effect, and you can have to start learning about different areas of your life, different topics and different subjects. All right. Now, the last but not least, about the knowledge. We're still talking about the knowledge, guys. So how and where from we acquire this knowledge, and what do we learn from? Well, I want to list 3 of the most important things which I think every one of us should learn from. And I think they're the most important, truly the most important things. And they might seem very simple to you, like almost too easy. But I can assure you, nothing which is simple is easy. It might seem simple, but it's not that easy. So stick with me and try to understand this different perspective what will help you to put on these 3 things. The first thing, books. You gotta read books, guys. The books is something which help you to increase these 2 factors of ultimate success, which is worth the damn and deserve it. How do they help you? I will explain in a second, but first I'm going to give you an examples of how do the books help others to succeed. And I'm going to give you examples of successful people which learn a lot from books and read a lot of books. And I hope you can use those examples and their credibility to actually truly believe that books can change your life. Well, one of the examples is Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. They read enormous amount of books. Warren Buffett, I think, reads 500 pages a day. He reads like 6 hours a day, every single day. And these guys once have been asked one question, and they've been asked, if you guys would have this superpower, what would it be? What would you wish for as a superpower? And they said both the same answer. They said they would have the superpower of reading faster than they read right now. That's how important it for them, reading. That's how huge amount of success they get out of reading. That if they've been asking to have the superpower, they don't want anything else but increase the speed of reading. Well, Elon Musk, you probably know him, you know, right? The creator of Tesla electric vehicles. He's been asked, how did he learn and how does he know now how to actually launch the rockets, the spaceships in the space? And he said, well, I read books. The Alexander the Greatest, who was just fighting all over the world long time ago, he was actually ordering the books delivered to him at the war field. And he was reading the books in between the war. The guy who knew that there is a probability for him to die any day, he would still read the books because he knew that it gives him an advantage, the edge over his whomever he was fighting for and with. Right? The Richard Dawkins, in the book Selfish Gene, which I suggest you to read, and I will put it on the list of the books, he actually says that there is 2 types of species in the world. I mean, there's different type of species in the world, but he's talking about human beings, and he said there are 2 types of human beings in the world. The first type is the ones who can understand the future, simulate the future, and that's how they progress. The second type is the group of people who actually progress based on their trials and errors. And he says that the ones who actually are projecting in the future and try to simulate the future, they get to results and they get to success a lot faster with less pain and without the fatal outcomes. Why? Because the trial and error can be equally painful, can take up so much time, and can be fatal sometimes. Just think about it. Do you know that you're not supposed to go on the road because you might get hit by the truck and die? Yes, you do know it. But do you practice it by error or trial? Or you just projecting in the future? You are a machine which can project and simulate the future. And the answer is yes, you simulate the future. We're not stupid enough to go and try it, right? Because we know it's deadly. So error and trial can be even deadly. So you are being better off to learn by what? By simulating the future. And guess what? Books is and are the source of simulating the future. We read the books, we see what others done. Others have shared with us those mistakes, those errors and trials they already went through. And now we read through that and we can simulate the future the same way we simulate us being hit by the truck. And we don't do that thing. So we not going to be doing those things which they have done and that they brought them bad results. We're going to be focusing on the results which we want. And we're going to get those results. The focus goes, the energy flows. So hopefully energy flows to the things which work. And those are the things we are getting from the books. That's how books are important. Books, by the way, are the one of the elements I put for you as a supporting materials in this program for each of the videos. Why do I do that? Because I want you to read. Because by reading, you're going to be simulating the future. By simulating the future, you will be able to shave off the couple of years, many years of a learning curve, the one we're so afraid about. Remember? We are afraid of learning because we are afraid of the curve of making mistakes and being judged. And that fear led us to procrastinate. Well, guys, books can help you. Find your certainty in books. Remember, we were talking about the needs, and one of the needs is certainty. Well, find the certainty in books. Be certain you will be successful if you're going to read the books. You will be able to skip the trials and error and deadly situations by simulating the future. And how you do that? You read books. Books is your way out. Books is the element to increase and grow your worth a damn and deserve it factor. I cannot, emphasize enough on it. And by the way, in upcoming videos, not today, I'm not going to overwhelm you with so much information today. We're going to be learning how to read books. We're going to be learning what kind of books to read. We're going to be learning how to build your skills based on books and a lot of different other stuff. So don't get overwhelmed and try to ask yourself what kind of books to read. Well, actually, you already have one of the answers. What kind of books to read? About the biology, about the psychology, about the history, about the money, about the relationships. Those are the books which will bring you knowledge in all those areas to create this edge effect we just talked about. That's why books are so important. And last but not least, about the books, they are your mentors. They are your opportunity to talk to someone who is already dead. You see, they already died, but you have this privilege to talk with them, to have a conversation with them and learn from them. How great is that? So do that. Start practicing reading the books. Create a challenge for yourself. Just take half an hour and start read the books. Half an hour every single day, and your life will change, I promise. I'm going to be talking about this later on in upcoming steps, so I'm not going to dive deep into details here. So I said there were 3 different ways of how you actually learn, right? So the first one was books. The second one now is mentors. Very easy. And this is the very tricky topic. Not for me though. Why is it tricky? I said it's just because a lot of people asking me whether it is okay to substitute mentors with books. They said, well, you said yourself, the books are the mentors, so can I substitute them? My answer is no. You gotta have them both. And I'm gonna explain you why. You see, when you're reading the books, you kind of digesting the information, and information enters your brain through your eyes, through your vision, right? Because you take in the book and you're reading the book. And your vision transforms this information in your head. Well, sometimes if you read out loud, which very minority of us do, you can also hear yourself, and there's the hearing memory kind of kicks in, and now you using 2 senses of yours to actually digest the information, and that's already better. You probably already understand the drill. The more senses of yours you use to learn something, the better you're going to learn about that thing on a deeper level. You're going to be understanding that thing on a lot deeper level if you would use less of your senses. Make sense? I hope it does. That's why mentorship in person is super important, because this is one of the most efficient way how to learn, because we all learn by osmosis, as they call it, meaning you kind of rub that person on yourself. If you're with this person for a long period of time and that person teaches you, you're not only hearing stuff and hearing the information, you not only see the person, but you also feel the smells. You also see the movements of that person. You see the mimics of the face. You see what he does or she does with her hands or legs, how they move, and things like that. If you're fortunate enough and you can participate in the meetings and communication sessions with your mentors, when the mentors actually communicate with someone else, you actually can observe and see how they behave when they are talking about something which is the problem on an issue. How do they change their body when they talk about something which is related to success and positive outcomes and things like that. And it kind of rubs off on you, and you're starting to feel it, you're starting to practice it, and you become it. So therefore, it is very important to look for mentors and have mentors for different areas of your life. And by the way, there are special rules and criteria of how do you choose the mentors, how many do you have, should you have, how often should you interact with them, what kind of area should you cover with mentors and things like that. I'm not going to cover all that today. Today I just want to give you this foundation, what to think about and what the things to actually, include in your life, like books and mentors. But then we're going to be talking about this a lot, and we're going to be talking about all those things of how to actually get those mentors, work with them, and get the most out of it, right? So the second one was mentors, and the third one is seminars, webinars, courses like that. Why? Because they come with the community, they come with the people, and that's how we create the environment when you can interact with each other. We have learned that one of our needs is love and connection. We love to be connected with people, we like to share experiences, and that environment creates that state which we are more likely to learn something on a deeper level. Remember, we talked about the state. So therefore, this collective learning, as I call it, very important, and therefore I suggest you participate in seminars, webinars, masterminds, buying courses and programs like this one to participate into the community and learn with the community. Those are the three things, guys, you gotta do, and those are the three sources of your knowledge where you can increase your worth a damn and deserve factor. I have nothing to add to it. I think it's crystal clear, and I hope I showed you completely different perspective of how you actually can look at the things you already knew before and change your beliefs and expand on your identity to start looking at them differently and break through those fears and start learning from those resources I have just listed. Okay? All right, that was about knowledge. I just want to remind you to make sure you stick with me and we're on the same page with you. So we started with the fact that we have these two factors which determine our success in life. This is worth a damn factor, is how much of the value we add to yourself, to ourselves, and to the world. And our deserve it factor is that how much do we do, how hard do we work to actually get what we want to get out of life, right? Then we have figured out that in order to increase those factors, we have to work on two things: on acquiring our knowledge and developing the skills. So we just covered the knowledge part of it, where we have figured out what this is the currency. We get it by learning, and we get it from three different sources: books, mentors, and seminars, webinars, and collective kind of experiences, right? And now the last but not least, those skills. Now we should apply some of that knowledge, not all of it, right, but some of it, in order to develop this skill which will let us to deserve things and which will let us to stand out and actually be worth a damn. Okay? So what kind of skills to learn? Well, before I dive deep into the details of it, and I will share with you my opinion of others, of what kind of skills should we get the proficiency in, I want to divide these skills in two different groups. And they are being divided in two different groups. The first group is tangible skills. And the second group is intangible skills, right? And you have developed all of them, obviously, but let's talk about them a little bit. Let's take first the tangible skills. What are those skills? Well, those are the skills, basically your technical skills, like your marketing skills, your sales skills, your programming skills, your analytical skills, and so on, right? Those are the skills you actually can kind of learn as a subject in school, in courses, and things like that. And then you apply those skills, practically apply them, and that's how you increase your value, right? And those are very important, don't get me wrong. If you are being hired for some job or you are opening the businesses, you know those, you have to have those skills. But in all other situations, including hiring process, the skill set that people usually pay attention the most on is intangible skills. I'll give you some examples of intangible skills. This is your awareness. This is your focus. This is your energy. This is your passion. This is your ability to lead. This is your leadership skills. These are your skills to build teams. These are your skills to negotiate and things like that. You see, those are the skills which make all the difference. Just imagine yourself, if you would have all those skills, would you stand out of the crowd? Well, the saying goes is those skills actually determine of how much and how deep in that potential of your learning capacity you're gonna dig deep in and get the most out of it. Meaning, how much of the capacity of your IQ, of your mind to be able to learn you're gonna be using. And they being determined by those same intangible skills, not the tangible ones. So the intangible skills are highly important. I also want to illustrate you how important they are on example of the Warren Buffett, one of the most successful people in the world, one of the most richest people in the world, one of the most people in the world who has worked and hired the most CEOs for his and her companies. And he knows what kind of skills and what kind of set of skills he's actually looking at the person. And first thing he's looking at for those tangible skills. Intangible skills, I'm sorry, misspelled it. Intangible skills. And he once been asked in one of his presentation in one of the universities, what would he wish for the students as the end note in his presentation? And he said, well, in short, he said, I wish you to develop as many intangible skills as possible. And then he continued with the longest story I want to tell you right now, because it's very fun and interesting exercise for you. You're going to be actually interacting with me right now on the level of exercising and trying to remember stuff. So imagine it me, it's Warren Buffett who says to you, get yourself back to the school times, right? And try to imagine your class. Like, what do you see? What kind of people do you see there? Now, try to imagine that you're being given this gift and this kind of genie came out of the bottle, and the genie says, whomever you're gonna pick from your classroom, I'm gonna give you 10% of their earnings for their and yours entire life. And that's important, that's why I just paused here. Take a look back at your school years. Remember the class and the classroom you sit in. Remember all the people you interacted with, all your friends and all the classmates. Don't discount any one of them. And now, pick one of them, which you would put all your bets on. And as a result, the whole your life, you will get 10% of all the money the person will earn. The first question for you, whom will you pick? Just imagine it. Try to figure it out. Whom would you pick? By the way, when you picking that person, don't use existing knowledge about that person. Don't use their knowledge of how successful or not successful the person is today. Discount it. Get back to those years of your school and what you were thinking about these people back then, and use those feelings, emotions, and knowledge of yours back then. Whom would you pick back then? Not now, back then. Imagine it? Picked it? Okay, very good. The second question for you now. Why did you pick that person? What kind of criteria did you use to pick that person out? Well, Warren Buffett says is, you most probably were looking at the person who is the strongest in the class. You probably looked at the person who is the smartest in the class. You probably looked at the person who has the highest grades in the class. So basically you have looked only at the tangible skills of those people. But the room for error is very small, a little, and almost none here. If you're going to pick someone who's going to earn only 10,000 in their entire life, you're going to get 1,000 out of it, 10%. But if you're going to pick someone who will become the billionaire, you might get 100 millions out of it. So you got to pick carefully. So what kind of criteria should you use? You probably already guessed. The intangible skills. Now, take that person whom you picked first to these years now, to the presents, and figure out what that person do or does. How do they do? In most of the cases, if you pick them by criteria, the strongest, the smartest, the highest grades, in most of the cases, that person will live pretty average life with not so many ups and successes. As a rule, you might be an exception, your situation might be an exception, but I'm saying as a rule of life. Now, come back to that same class and try to pick one more time. You are given another guess. You are given another chance. Pick wisely. Use as a hint the intangible skills. Who would be then? Pick that guy or girl, bring them to the present, and see how successful they are right now. Well, statistically and most likely that person is hugely or highly successful. Maybe even more successful than you, or more successful than the majority out of your class. Now think about it. What kind of criteria did you use now to pick that person out? Well, if you like me or Warren Buffett, I'm not comparing myself to Warren Buffett. I mean, when I went through that exercise first time I picked the strongest and the smartest. The second time I picked the guy or the girl, actually picked the guy and the girl who were most active, who had the most energy, who had the better charisma, who were focused enough, who were curious enough, who were all the time kind of aware of everything what is happening, who were asking so many questions, who were the role models, not based on their strengths, not based on their strengths, not based on their actions, not based on their grades or how smart they are, but how did they behave? And I always thought, and then I picked that guy and girl, and it's like, oh my God, that's true. Look at them. Look what they did. Look how they behaved. And now look at them now. Wow, they're so successful. No wonder, because they had all this tangible skill set as the set of tools they needed to tap into their potential, IQ and learning potential, and start acquiring knowledge and then building skills, those tangible skills, only after, on top of those intangible ones, because the intangible are most important. And by building that, they have increased their deserving and worth a damn factor. And as a result, they got out of life everything what they wanted, and they are still on the way up. They're still creating better of it. How great is that? So that's how important intangible skills are. Let's take a look at a couple of them, and we're going to wrap it up here, guys. One of the most important though, and it's not only my opinion, again, all those investors and the books I read from, they all point at one, is your awareness. How aware you are. How aware you are of your surroundings. How aware you are of your feelings. How aware you are of your emotions. How aware you were before this program about your beliefs, about your identity, about your state. How aware you were in what kind of states are you living your life in? Were you aware enough to stop, to catch yourself in that state and change that state without this knowledge? Probably not. How aware you are about your keyboard? Do you know what all those keys mean? Do you know what F5 mean? Do you know what F6 mean? Do you know what happens when you click on the Control F7 and things like that? Yet you work with this and you are having this keyboard for probably ages and you work with it every single day, but do you know all the combinations? That's what awareness is all about. Do you curious enough? This is kind of goes with awareness. How curious are you? How many questions do you ask? How much do you want to know? How much of the and broad of the knowledge you want to acquire? That's what awareness is all about. That intangible skill will actually help you to improve your knowledge, to improve your skills, the tangible ones, and to improve those two factors. How can you practice it? Well, just be more aware. Go and through the courses like that. Learn new things, be aware and learn your keyboard, learn your phone, learn your business, learn different spheres and areas of your life, acquire this knowledge and become more aware. Be curious, ask questions, and get educated. That's how you train your awareness and your curiosity factor. Let's say focus, and by the way, I have mentioned about the focus already before when we learned about the states. How can you practice focus? Which is one of the intangible skills, by the way, and if you don't have it, you know what happens with you. You are not able to focus on something which is important. You are not able to send this message to your mind to what you really want out of life. And therefore, mind is not helping you and being your obstacle on your road. That's how important to have this intangible skill called focus. How do you practice it? Well, we have covered it already. Practice it by gratitude. Practice it by setting goals, making plans, creating your mission statement in life, and things like that, right? Your energy. Wow, your energy is everything, because remember, our state and ability to do something depends on the emotions what we have. But what is the motion? It's energy plus motion. So there is some motion, but if there is no energy, we cannot create the right emotion. Therefore, we cannot create the right state. And therefore, we cannot break through our fears. And therefore, because of the fears, we are procrastinating and not learning. And without not learning, we are not getting and acquiring the knowledge and building skills. And without that, we cannot increase our worth a damn and deserve it factor. That's how important those intangible skills are. And you're gonna start to practice them, guys. You have to start practice them. Be aware, be curious, be focused, be patient. Create energy. And by the way, you can create energy by motion, by using your body, by your physiology. We also learned that during the step we learned about the state, your emotional, physical, and state of body and your mind. That's why you needed all those skills before, remember? And those are, by the way, kind of intangible skills we learned. The skills which you now know how to identify yourself, how to expand your identity, how to actually identify your beliefs and replace them, how to put yourself into the state. Those are all the intangible skills that will help you out to acquire any other tangible ones and increase your deserving factor and worth a damn factor. That's how all those things are coming together. And we also creating this edge effect. Remember, throughout our course, we're looking at the things from different perspectives. That's why I said, get all your disempowering belief off the table for this particular lesson, because I'm going to be talking about the things you heard about before so many times, but you are hearing them from the prism of your beliefs of absolute certainty, which you already know about them, that false information which you had before. And now, hopefully you were able to look at it from a different perspective and you understand now how important it is. All right, guys, I'm about to wrap up here, and let me to recap this lesson. I gave you this step. I gave you so much of information and you might feel overwhelmed. So let me recap and put a little bit structure in your head, in your mind. So what we learned today is that there are two factors of ultimate success. Those are the deserving factor, deserve it factor, and worth a damn factor. Worth a damn factor help us to build the value for ourselves and build the value for entire world, for other people, for the nature, for our society, right? And by increasing this value, we actually increase the probability of our success. And we also learned about this deserved factor, which actually requires for us to get what we want out of life, because we actually have to do something in order to deserve something. And there we have to do something and become someone. We also have covered that. We then skipped to the point where we started to talk about how to actually increase those two factors through the roof. We want to, put them up through the roof. And what we have experienced and talked about is the two ways of how to increase them is by acquiring knowledge and applying that knowledge and creating the skills, developing the skills. Then we talk about why knowledge is important, and we figure it out, but this is the currency. And we actually acquiring the knowledge by learning. We all have the same capacity of the learning, but though we have different kind of fears about the learning, and therefore a lot of us procrastinate and do not learn. Now and before through the first 4 steps, we already decided and we have learned how to actually go through the fear, and now we started to learn what kind of sources we can learn from in order for us to get the knowledge and increase our deserving and worth the damn factors. And we learned which we have to read the books, we have to have work with the mentors, and we have to participate in collective kind of experiences. And that's how we're going to deserve that factor, and we're going to get broader knowledge. We also have learned when we have the broader knowledge to create this edge effect where all this knowledge from different subjects complement each other and help in the different areas of our life. We also have learned today that there are also some skills we have to develop in order to succeed. And there are 2 groups of skills. One of the group is tangible skills, the ones we can technically acquire and learn and study and as a subject. And there are intangible skills which are deep down in our mind and body, and we use those intangible skills to increase our learning capacity by tapping into that potential which we all have, and all the same by also breaking through the fears. And as a result today, I hope what you got out of this step is the understanding of how important knowledge is, how important apply and implementation of the knowledge is, how important is to create the value for yourself and for others, how important is to first deserve something you want out of life and then get this something out of life. How important is to read books, how important is to work with mentors, how important is to go through collective experiences of acquiring knowledge, and how important is to develop your skills, tangible and intangible. It all together gives you this nature edge effect where all the life, all the fulfillment, all the happiness, all the success, all the wonderful thing and magical things are happening. So let's create this edge effect within us, within our life, within our mind, around us, by acquiring this knowledge and by applying this knowledge and creating those skills and increasing those deserving and damn factor and increasing our deserving it and worth the damn factors. And therefore, we're getting what? More attention, and people want more of us, and then we just need to select what and whom we want to work with and have a relationship with and things like that, and then start working on them, and then start deserving them, and then start being the worth the damn within them. All right, last but not least, as that topic was important and I dropped a lot of knowledge and science and information at you, I have prepared list of questions for you, which I'm just going to read off my thing here because they're long, but at the same time they're very precise and detailed, and I want you to work as the homework after this particular step. I want you to work on those questions. I want to ask you those questions to yourself, and I want you to write down as detailed as possible answers for every single question. The answers will give you clues, and those clues will help you to figure out what you actually need to do in order to start increase your worth a damn and deserve it factors, and therefore increase the probability of successing in any area of your life. Okay? All right, here it goes. I have quite a bit of them. The first one is, are you spending each day to get a little bit wiser, like a little bit more knowledgeable? Do you do that every single day? If yes, ask yourself, how can it be improved? If no, how can you start? How can you make sure every single day, when you wake up, you learn something and then you go to sleep and you becoming a little wiser. Okay? This is another formula for success, by the way. If you're going to make sure you're going to sleep a little wiser than you just woke up, and you're going to do it rapidly enough, frequently enough, often enough, you're going to be rewarded as a result. Another question for you is, are you improving your skills a little bit every single day? If yes, how can it be improved further? If no, how can you start? Because skills are important. They can bring a lot more value to people around you and to you. Your skills and knowledge about your health, your skills and knowledge about the subject which you work on at your workplace and things like that. Another question you should ask yourself, are you reading books? If yes, do you read right types of books? Do you read plenty of variety of books to cover and create this edge effect for yourself? Ask yourself these questions. Are you getting necessary value out of that books you read? Right? Do you read like only fiction books? You're probably not going to get too much of the value out of those books. Well, if you don't read the books yet, how can you start? Which book will you read first? Why would you read it? My list of the books for every single video can help you out to figure that out. Another question is, what are your tangible and intangible skills which make you strong? List them. List them all. Your tangible skills and intangible skills which you have in your possession right now. And which of them make you strong as you think? Increase your value. Now think, how can you double down on them? What else you can do to actually use them even more and increase your value even more? On the other hand, you also try to figure it out. What kind of tangible and intangible skills you have which make you weak? Which one of them? Again, list the tangible and intangible things and then figure it out which one of them make you weak. Now think, how can you transform them into your strengths? What can you start do with them and how can you start using them to actually transform them into your strengths, because it's going to help you out. Another thing what you might do is, what are your goals? Start being aware of your goals. Start to care about your goals. Start to care about your life mission. And maybe try to list. If you didn't have it before, try to list. If you had it before, try to remember and go over your goals again. And try to list those goals and those areas, most important areas of your life which you want to improve. Just list it for yourself. This is exercise, guys. You don't need to worry about the outcome. Just go for that exercise, answer those questions. And last but not least, what is your value now? How do you value yourself now? How much of value you bring to yourself? How do you feel it? And how do you feel it about it? And how much of the value you bring to others? And how you actually do that? What are your core values? What are your strengths that we already talked about? And how do you measure and evaluate your value at the moment? And how can you increase it going further? Because we know they're going to increase the probability of your success. It's going to grow and increase your two factors, worth a damn and deserved factors, right? Two very most important factors in the whole world. And as a result, guys, you remember the second part of the step was how to become a learning machine. You gotta become a learning machine. And we learned today how to do that. We have just learned, we have to tap into our potential, which we all have the same, and we have just to start learning. And start now. Now is the best time to start learning. Why? It's just because the last best time to start learning was 20 years ago. But now is the next best time to start learning. And today, you are the youngest you will ever be. So you might as well just break through your fears and use this understanding of you being the youngest you will ever be as the motivation for yourself to break through those fears and finally start learning and shave off the curve, the learning curve, by actually acquiring the knowledge, reading the books, going to the seminars, working with the mentors. All right? All right, guys. I hope it was useful. We just took this step forward on our journey to a better life, and we're going to continue at the next step. See you there.